Today on our 2018 Toyota Tacoma, we're going to be installing Roadmaster's Universal Wiring Kit for towed vehicles, part number RM-152-98146-7. This diode wiring kit is going to transfer all the signals from your motorhome back to your towed vehicle, so that way everyone behind you knows your intentions going down the road. This includes your left turn signal, right turn signal, tail lamps, and brake lamps. This will keep you DOT compliant in all states. This wiring kit's going to come with everything you need to run the signals from your tail lamp assemblies up to the front, as well as give you a connection point to plug in your 6-pole connector to hook up your motorhome. The diodes that are hooked up here back at the tail light will allow it to receive signals from your motorhome, but those signals won't be transferred to the rest of your vehicle, as diodes act as a one-way check valve, so voltage won't go in that direction. This will keep everything completely separate, so you don't have to worry about anything on your vehicle affecting your motorhome, and vice versa. Also included with this kit, you'll receive a 6-pole to 7-pole cable that will allow you to connect your vehicle to your motorhome. We'll begin our installation at the back of our vehicle by removing both the passenger and driver's side taillight assemblies. You'll use a 10mm socket to remove the bolts located here. You'll now remove your taillight by pulling it rearward. If it doesn't want to release when you pull it, you can use a trim panel tool to get behind it and help work it off. We'll just set our taillight assembly right around the side there, as we're going to need to do some testing on the wires. Go ahead and remove your other side taillight in the same way. Now that we've got both assemblies removed, we'll need to strip back some of the wiring to the bulb that goes towards the top, as this is where we're going to tap in our wiring. So strip back some of the sheathing here using a razor blade. And you can just take that wiring and go ahead and separate each of them. We'll just cut off that extra sheathing that we removed. And now we can get to our wiring. Our taillight signal is going to be the green wire, and our left turn is going to be the yellow wire. So we can go ahead and cut both of these wires. We're going to cut them right in the middle. We'll then strip back each end of each wire that we just cut. We'll then take the wiring that came with our kit, and we'll need to separate each end. So you just want to clip between each wire. And you'll want to pull it back a little bit so we can make our connections. We'll then strip back the yellow wire and the brown wire. Our brown wire also needs to connect on the other side. Now, to save length, to make sure we've got enough to get to the front, we're going to use some of the white wire as a jumper wire to go from this side to that side. So you want to make sure you've got enough length of white wires peeled back from separate from the rest to where it can go across and go underneath. We'll then strip back some of the white wire. We're now going to make our connections. You'll have one diode that has a yellow connector. We'll be using this for our taillight signal, so we'll start with this one. Go ahead and take off each of the connectors. This just makes it easier to crimp. We'll crimp a blue connector onto each end of the green wire that we cut. We'll then take the brown wire, the white wire, twist those together, and crimp them in the yellow spade terminal. We can now reconnect our diode. The yellow connector is going to go on the side with 2 spades, along with the green wire that goes back to the rest of the vehicle. And the green wire that goes to the bulb is going to connect to the single pin on the other side. And now for our other diode, we're going to remove all 3 of the blue spade terminals. And we're going to crimp one on each of the 3 yellow wires. We'll then connect our diode again. The single spade is going to go towards the bulb, and the other 2 yellow wires are going to go on the other side. We can then stick our diodes to our taillight assembly on the inside of the housing area, or you could just stick them together, and we're just going to do that. So we'll peel back the adhesive backing for each diode and stick them together. We'll then take the rest of our 4 wires. We're going to poke those down through the opening underneath our taillight, and we're just going to feed all this down. You can now clean up your wiring with some electrical tape just to make everything nice and neat. I do not recommend taping over the diodes, as these are heat sinks, so that way they can cool. We just want to tape up to them. You can now reinstall your taillight assembly. Line up the alignment holes. And just press it back into place. You can then reinstall the 3 screws. We're now underneath the vehicle. We're going to need to cut the white wire where we had stripped it back. It's a good idea while you're down here to do one quick check just to make sure that you've got enough to reach across and to go up to your tail light. Once you've double checked that, go ahead and cut the white wire. You'll then want to take your green wire and you're going to want to peel that back until there's enough to reach across as well, because the green wire is going to connect on your passenger side. I'm going to go ahead and route these wires now. We've taken our wiring and we just followed right across with our factory wiring over towards our passenger side tail light, and we poked it up that same hole that we poked it down on our driver's side. On the passenger side, we cut our light blue wire that goes to the top bulb and the green wire that goes to the top bulb. We then stripped back each ends and crimped on the blue spade terminals. The wires that we ran over from the other side, the green and white, we stripped those back and also put on blue spade terminals. We'll now connect our diode to these wires. So the green wires will connect the one that goes to the bulb to the single side of the diode. We'll connect the other green wire to the 2-prong side of the diode. And we'll connect our white wire that we had jumpered across to the other terminal on our diode. Our other diode will connect the single end to the light blue wire that goes to the bulb. The light blue wire that goes to the vehicle will go on the other side. And the green wire that we ran across will connect to that same side. We can then stick them together again, just like we did on the other side. We can then install our taillight assembly on the passenger side as well. We gone ahead and cleaned up all of our wiring using zip ties to keep it on that factory wiring. If there was any excess, we just kind of bundled it up right there. And we routed it up over the pillars that go above our spare tire until we get to where our axle is. Here you'll see that there's some bolts in the frame. This will be a perfect opportunity for us to connect the white wire that is still connected to the rest of this bundle of wire here, which is going to be ground, right onto one of those bolts. So let's go ahead and strip this back and we'll connect the ring terminal provided in the kit. Now, using a 12mm socket, we're going to remove the rearmost bolt. Once you've got the bolt removed, we'll want to slide our ring terminal on the bolt, and then we're going to reinstall it back on top of the frame. From where we made our ground connection, we routed our wire up along the top side of the frame, and here's our factory wiring that it's zip tied to. It follows it up, and when our factory wiring runs up over across the top of the frame, we went ahead and took our wiring and ran it over across as well. And again, just kept following that factory wiring up. Our factory wiring comes out here in our driver's side fender well. We ran it up behind this panel up into the engine compartment. We then came up from where we routed our fender well, following our factory wiring down the inside here behind our battery. We're up by our headlight. We're now going to go ahead and hook up our 6-pole connector. This way we know where to route the rest of our wiring to. This is just going to help us be as efficient as possible with the wire that comes in the kit. So we'll take the self-tapping screws that came with your base plate and the 6-pole connector that came with your diode wiring. We're going to use an 8mm socket to run it in. We're now going to take our wiring. We're going to go down behind our headlight in the opening here. If you look down, you can see the ground, so we're just going to route it towards the ground. And we'll pull our wiring down. Here we can just run it along our base plate, right over to our connector. We'll now take our connector back off so we can make our connections. Make sure that you slide the rubber protector that comes on the back of your 6-pole onto the wiring. And then I'm going to separate each end. And then you're going to strip back the end of each of these wires. We can now make our connections to our 6-pole connector. You'll need a small screwdriver. We're going to start hooking up our wiring. If you look on the back, they're labeled. So the one here labeled RT, that's right turn signal. That's going to be our green wire. So we'll unscrew it, push our green wire in, and then tighten it back down. I went ahead and connected the rest of our wiring. Next to the green is our yellow, which is labeled LT for left turn. Next to that is our white wire, which is our ground wire labeled GD. And last is our brown wire, which is our taillight wiring, which is going to be labeled TM. We're then going to put some dielectric grease on the back of our wires to help prevent any moisture and corrosion starting. You can pick up some dielectric grease here at eTrailer.com with part number 11755. And go ahead and put a generous amount. You can then slide your rubber protector over it. And then I recommend using some electrical tape to seal your rubber connector on the back of your 6-pole. And also to seal up the wiring in. Now you can reinstall your connector. Plug in your vehicle 6-pole connector, hook it up to your RV, and verify that everything's working properly. You'll want to verify that you have your left turn signal, right turn signal, tail lamps, and brake lamps. In order to complete our flat tow setup with our 2018 Toyota Tacoma, we used Roadmaster's EZ5 base plate, Roadmaster's Falcon all-terrain non-binding tow bars, Roadmaster's universal diode wiring kit, SMI's Stay and Play Duo supplemental braking system, and Roadmaster's battery charge line kit. And lastly, we used Roadmaster's safety cables. And that completes our installation of Roadmaster's universal wiring kit for towed vehicles on our 2018 Toyota Tacoma.